Welcome to Rock and Roll Fridays, a podcast on musical encounters and life.
Welcome to Rock and Roll Fridays. I am back after a long hiatus. And I have a great guest tonight. I'm going to mess it up already. Ciara O'Shea. Ciara.
Yes.
See? I don't listen.
Close enough.
What a cool name.
Thank you.
Because you're originally from South Jersey, right? With that name.
Yeah, definitely. I like to tell people I'm from South Street, South Jersey, like the Jersey Shore, whatever they'll believe, I'll tell them.
I'm sure you get many questions, right, about your accent. I mean,
for sure.
When I moved to California, people busted on me about my Jersey accent. So I'm sure you get lots of questions. Are you visiting? Why do you live here?
Yeah, I had one person asked me once if I was faking. If I was faking an Irish accent. I said, "Oh my God."
So tell me about your background. Where are you originally from, and how did you end up in New Jersey of all places?
So it's a little bit of a story. So I'm from the southwest of Ireland, a town called Killarney. It's in the county of Kerry. It's really beautiful. Most people who've been to Ireland, if they leave Dublin, they probably have been to where I'm from, because it's a very tourist-centric town. We're in the middle of a national park, so it's amazing there. So I grew up there, and then I did my undergraduate degree in Limerick at the University of Limerick, and I did a performing arts degree. So it was just a 4-year BA, and I majored in voice, and I kind of changed my minor up between different instruments, and it was mostly based in traditional Irish music. So I'm not sure how deep into that world you go, but yeah, I spent 4 years doing that. So it's pretty interesting. And then after I graduated in 2019, and then shortly after, I met my now husband, who's from Marlton. We met in Ireland, and he came back to America. That was fine. And I had an opportunity to come here on a graduate visa. So I was able to work an internship. With the kind of premise of that visa is you work an internship that's something to do with your undergrad degree.
Right.
So my degree was in music, so I work for Performing Arts Centre, where I now work full-time. They hired me full-time just over a year ago now. So I kind of was like killing two birds with one stone. I was like, I can see how it works out with this guy, and then also I can like maybe, level up in my career a little bit and just kind of kickstart things on the other side of the Atlantic. So that's what I did. And then I moved here in January 2020. So right before COVID hit, and then COVID hit, and then I stuck in the house, but I didn't really mind too much.
What? From Ireland to South Jersey, and then stuck in the house.
Yeah.
And meeting a guy from Marlton, New Jersey, of
I know.
all places, right? Well, I always say everywhere I've traveled around the world, you always meet someone from New Jersey. It's just a thing, right?
Truly. Before I moved, I met like people that literally live like 5 minutes down the road here. So it's a really small world.
So you obviously love music because
yes.
you work in the music world, and are part of the South Jersey community in Collingswood, New Jersey, a group called the 561 Collective. And
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about how that came to be, what it is, and how people can find out more about it?
Absolutely. And it's another good story. So buckle up. So I moved here obviously right around the time of COVID, and didn't really have like an outlet. And I was playing a lot back home, playing a lot of gigs. And then the music industry just completely shut down all over the world. So I didn't really have like any way in this community, because I don't know anyone here.
Right.
The only person I knew at the time was like my husband. I've obviously made, a lot of friends since. I've met a lot of amazing people, but I didn't really know what to do. And then just about earlier in this year, the start of this year, I was at Tom Fisher's, which is a local for me.
From Ireland to Tom Fisher's.
Yeah, I know.
What a transition.
Like, couldn't be more stereotypical, just going to like a tiny bar.
Yeah.
So I was in there with my husband, and met a fellow wearing an Idols t-shirt. So, the band Idols, and they're one of our favorite bands. So I said, hey, I really like your Idols t-shirt. Like, we just saw them, we love them. And he happened to be there with 3 other people. So there was the 4 of them. Actually, no, there was only 3 of them. One person was missing. And then we got chatting, and they started to tell me, like, we were just after, finding this group, which is our first meeting. And they were like, oh, I then told them my story, that I work in arts marketing, that I've been, worked in performing arts and music and live entertainment for like, since I was too young to be doing so, definitely, since I was like 13, 12 or 13. So that's how I came involved with the group. But how the group was initially founded was Anthony Pissarro, who also lives in Collingswood. So we all live in Collingswood, which is, that's definitely the kind of ethos of it, of how local it is. He put a message into a local Facebook group, in the Wood Facebook group. And he said, is anyone interested in starting like a DIY scene up here in Collingswood, so people don't have to go to Philly, so we can cultivate a scene here and promote local artists? And the three others responded. So that's how they started first, was from Anthony's message, and then I joined a little bit later. So that's kind of how it started. And we're on our third show. Our third show is going to be on November 18th at the American Legion in Collingswood. So it's right off Atlantic Ave, right by the Patco station, for those of you who don't know. And this show coming up is going to have 4 bands, and they range from emo to indie folk to punk. And that's kind of our wheelhouse that we write in, is, emo, punk, rock, alternative. That's kind of where we're mostly basing the type of acts that we want to produce. And there's going to be 4 bands. It's $15 on the door to get in, and yeah, it's going to be a fantastic night. And for the first 2 shows, and also for this show, we have donated a portion of our proceeds to the CHS music program. So a lot of the mission behind what we want to do is work in the community and work for the community. So by working in the community, we're having local shows, we're promoting local bands, and we really want to put kind of smaller, lesser known bands with a bigger following. So they're getting that, new audience in front of them, which is always great. And, all the people we've had playing from South Jersey really love doing kind of a home gig. It's really nice. And then we like to give back by donating to a charity. And Anthony actually works with the after school program, and he teaches band there at CHS. So he's able to directly tell us how well those funds have been used, how well they've been used, and how needed it is too. So it's been great.
And I can pick up on what kind of what void you're filling, right? You have these bands and concerts where ticket prices are crazy, and it's big stadium, and it's a whole day and experience. And here it's localized, it's intimate, it's friends, it's house party type.
Yeah, and it's just great music too. Everyone we have is a great artist, and that's what we want to promote, just original art, original music in the locality.
That's amazing. And also using a VFW hall, right, as a base to kind of modernize the experience of the traditional VFW halls
definitely
back in the day. And Collingswood, for people that don't know, is about 15 minutes outside of Philadelphia, accessible by Patco. There's a Patco stop in Collingswood. And the town is very vibrant, artsy, music creatively driven, art driven. But there is multiple creative bands that are living and breathing in Collingswood. And this is just another opportunity for them to be part of that musical community here, which is
for sure. There's a wealth of local talent, and it's crazy. Once we started the first show, we had a lot of people reach out to us, say, we'd love to play. And people were like as close as like 2 blocks from where I live. So it's really amazing. You really don't know what's on your doorstep.
And how do you find the experience of where you came from and living musically to not only America, but like the East Coast of America, and then a suburb of Philadelphia, right? So you have, we're lucky here where we live. We have the suburbs, we have the suburban lifestyle with, Collingswood, Haddonfield, Haddon Township as kind of mini towns. But then we have a large city, right? Philadelphia is still in the top 10 largest cities in America. What do you find around the music scene? The differences coming from where you came from in Ireland to here, and then on the East Coast of America?
So at home, music is hugely part of our culture, and it has been back as far as, you know, pre-Christian times. Like if you look back in any old historic documentation, there's threads of, you know, medieval music, Christian monk music. It just has flown with us since we've began. And if you were to go to Ireland and you go to a town, nearly every given pub you go into, there's going to be live music. So I grew up in that scene of just playing gigs in pubs. It's a great way to make a living. A lot of people do it full time, and everybody knows everyone. And there's definitely like subsects of like different music communities. So like in the traditional music community, everyone really knows everyone. You get to play with some amazing musicians. You get to travel around Ireland to like festivals, to do gigs, and it's just fantastic. And I was really lucky to just have opportunities growing up to play music in different countries across Europe, play in the States, and it's just been amazing. So it's been really what I've grown up on, and it's really, really important to us as people. I think it's how people connect too. And then coming here, it's important here, but it's definitely not as, I don't think, like ingrained in the people as it is at home. And in terms of like how far back music goes, you know, there is traditional American music, which I studied a little bit in college too, and it's amazing, and music goes far back here. But I think maybe you really, like during COVID, you really saw the difference in Ireland versus here of like people not having that outlet. And living then on the East Coast, I lived in New York a little while for myself in, I guess, kind of a similar situation. I lived in Queens, so you're like 20 minutes from like the big city, you know, from like Philly to Collingswood, Queens to, you know, Manhattan. And it's just nice having kind of like the smaller local music community around you, and then you go into Philly and you can go to these huge venues and see like amazing bands. And that's one thing I really love about living in this area, is anyone I want to see is going to be, their tour route usually passes through here. Where I lived at home, it was like a 3-hour train ride to go see like any major band. So it's great how accessible it is, but I know Ticketmaster is like a hot mess, prices are a hot mess, but at least it's close.
Well, and also, you know, it's a true fact, right? The Beatles started in bars. U2 started in bars. Bands start in bars. Bands start playing gigs that you're putting on, right? And you hope that you get to catch a glimpse of a band that makes it, right? Like that's the cool fan experience. And from what you're saying, that collection of more established bands with younger bands is a really cool opportunity for people to see new live modern music right in your backyard, which is awesome.
Definitely, for sure.
And through your travels and playing, have you had some interesting musical experiences? I mean, you're doing one now, right? I mean, you're kind of promoter, marketer, talking with bands, but I'm sure you have a story or two where you're like, how did I get in this situation?
I know, I'm definitely like racking my brain, because there has been some really interesting stories and interesting gigs that I've done. Or sometimes you're booked for this gig and you show up and it's like, I don't know, in like Germany somewhere, and you show up and it's like this like weird place and everyone's wearing kind of weird clothes and you're like, oh, what am I doing here? And you're not really sure what's going on. But I can't think of like any really good story off the top of my head, but there's definitely been a few, be it here in the States or at home.
How can people find out about the bands and 561? What are some of the outlets? I mean,
so primarily we're just using Facebook and Instagram, because we just think for the kind of audience that we're trying to reach, which is local people who are really living and breathing in the community, that's how we're going to reach them. So you can follow us on Instagram, 561 Collective, same on Facebook, and we're pretty, you know, we try to be pretty active and pretty robust with our content. So we really want to keep people informed and in the loop and get them excited for our shows. And, you know, we've had 3 shows. Well, our third one is coming up since June. So we're really hoping after the new year to increase that frequency, to work on some collaborations with other groups, other venues, and just keep growing and getting bigger. So it's definitely one to watch, I hope.
And how's it been received in the community, right? I mean, how and what's the vibe that you're getting around the venue, the people? You know, it sounds like this is something that people want as an alternative to those bigger shows or going to the city and also hearing new music.
Yeah, it's been received really, really well. Just it's funny how you kind of hear feedback. So, for example, at Porch Fest, which people don't know, it's a local kind of almost townwide festival. Is that how you'd explain it?
Yeah, like
Kind of
yeah, citywide bands play on porches.
on porches. Yeah,
Community can walk around the neighborhoods, listen to music, have beverages, if they will,
yeah.
and it's just an open community day.
So at Porch Fest, there's a band, a local band. They're called Love Said the Commander, and they were playing on someone's porch, and they said that some people came up to them after the show saying, "We heard about you through 561 shows," and they came back to us with that. So it was really nice to see the word getting around and then see them being supported as a band through one of our shows. And I just really think that we've got a lot of feedback like, "Oh, I saw that on Facebook, I saw that on Instagram." And then when people come, they're like, "I'm so glad I came. I'm definitely going to come to the next one," or I keep hearing about this. I'm definitely going to come to the next one. And it seems to really be picking up by local people, which is awesome. And if you did grow up going to like VFW shows, going to basement shows, I think it'll appeal to that kind of crowd too. And that's what we're trying to, I guess, take the spirit of and just like bring it up a level. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's really cool, and
I think it's been positive so far.
yeah, and it's you know, you can't, and you talked about it during COVID, you can't replicate the power of live music and
Truly,
live sports, if you will. The kind of those are my two, right? Like there's
definitely.
nothing like a live show where you're hearing and seeing a band up close, um, playing their heart out, liking the music with friends in a small environment.
For sure.
It's
It's
the best.
inspiring. Like it really is.
Well, you guys are it's amazing, and it's so cool, and it's just another great creative outlet in Collingswood, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you being on Rock and Roll Fridays.
Thank you. And if you happen to pick up a copy of tomorrow's retrospect, we are on the cover.
That's
So have a
awesome.
read of our little feature. I actually have it right here.
Yeah, let's see
We're
this.
on the cover on the
There you go.
bottom, and then there's a feature in the second page.
Right.
So
So my goal with Rock and Roll Fridays is to get the word out and have people looking at your Facebook page and get
absolutely.
getting some bands around the country, hopefully taking a look at 561.
Yeah. So if anyone who's watching has any questions, hit us up and we'd be delighted to help you out.
Awesome.
Thank you so
561
much.
Collective. Check it out.
Thank you so much.